Happy Friday, everyone. What's going on? And happy almost weekend to you. We are here for kind of a news brief segment because as you guys have heard earlier on this week, if you have been up here for our videos, I'm not going to be available tomorrow for our normal Saturday podcast. And there's a lot going on this week in the world of wrestling in terms of news and stuff. So I thought we would come up here today just a couple of hours ahead of SmackDown going live and talk about some of the newsworthy events that have taken place this week. We have a CM Punk sighting. Austin Theory had a catastrophic Money in the Bank cash-in on Monday. Braun Strowman shot his mouth off again. Road Dogg thinks he's better than Bret Hart. Saraya is cleared to wrestle in AEW. And we also have Full Gear previews, Survivor Series previews, speculation, and just a lot of just kind of random chit-chat this afternoon. A couple of hours, like I said, before SmackDown goes live. We will also preview SmackDown tonight, which goes live in less than 2 hours. And on tap, they have Of course, we've got the Usos and New Day SmackDown Tag Team title match. That's going to be really interesting because I was worried that one or both of the Usos might have been injured heading into Crown Jewel, but this match is a go for tonight. We'll see if they change it up at all or if it's actually going to go off without a hitch and the Usos are, in fact, going to break the New Day's record and become the longest reigning WWE Tag Team Champions of all time. Also, SmackDown is kicking off its World Cup again. First round match, Nakamura taking on Santos Escobar, and we have a six-pack number one contenders challenge match or number one contenders match to challenge for the women's title. Sonya Deville, Liv Morgan, Xia Li, Raquel Rodriguez, Lacey Evans, and Shotzi on tap for SmackDown tonight. I will not be home, of course, to watch SmackDown, so you guys are going to have to keep me updated over there on the Twitters about anything interesting that might be going on there. Otherwise, we're just going to hang out, talk a little bit about the wrestling news today. I'm going to do some shout-outs, let you guys know what to expect this weekend, and it should be a fun way to kick off your weekend, hopefully. So first thing I'm going to do is cruise over here to the chat and say hi, and then I'm going to let you guys know what we're going to do tomorrow and what we're going to do, I'm sorry, not tomorrow. I'm thinking today's Saturday. I'm already in Winged Eagle mode. What we're going to do Sunday and what we're going to do next Sunday as well. So a lot of scheduling stuff coming up here in just a second, so stay tuned for that. I want to cruise over here to the chat and welcome everybody that's hanging out. Beetle911, Vash Starwind, good to see you. Max Pokebra and Jimmy Anderson, always great to see the channel members in the house, and I appreciate that. Super chat, Jimmy, greetings from all the way over in Sweden. You are the man. Appreciate you being here as always, and good to see you again. And good evening to you as well. Tatanani, I got some good news for you, my friend. Also, I want to welcome Chris FX is in the house. Man, good to see you back in here too, my friend. Big J is here. David Brown and Spaz Phoenix dropping a very generous $27.99 Canadian super chat up there. Thank you very much, my friend. Go shoot over to Spaz Phoenix's YouTube channel. Check him out. Give him a subscription and check out all of his latest videos and podcasts as well. Appreciate that, Spaz. You're a good guy, I'll tell you. I'm in Montana waiting for my well-done sirloin and double fries. Well done, Spaz. Well done. Well, I guess it is a sirloin. That's okay. Sipping on a Smirnoff before Black Panther 2. Cheers, chat. Come find me on Rumble, Spotify, as there may be something up with my YouTube. Well, I hope you get that worked out, Spaz. You know what? Something's up with my YouTube as well. I use two computers here, and not on this computer, but on my other one, it's like YouTube has gone into dark mode, but it's not set to dark mode. I go over to the settings and I click it to light, nothing happens, it stays dark. It's like my colors are inverted. So I thought it was a resolution problem with the screen, but no other websites are doing that. Like if I click on my YouTube short that I uploaded this morning, like the colors are inverted for some reason, and I don't know how to get it off of there. It has nothing to do with the monitor because no other websites are doing that. It's only YouTube, and it's only on that computer. It's not this one. It all works fine. So maybe there's something weird going on with YouTube right now. I don't know, but best of luck to you, Spaz, and have a great time in Montana. My cousin Jill lives up there near Bozeman, and she spent many years living in Yellowstone Park, and she's a big outdoors nature person, and Montana is beautiful. I've been meaning to get up there and visit her for the longest time. I hope you have a good time at that wedding. It's probably a really interesting one. Not sure how I feel about that well-done sirloin. Maybe medium well I could live with, or medium, but I don't know, Spaz. Well done. But when you're eating it with frites, just cook it, eat it, dip it in sauce. My kind of guy. Appreciate you being here as always, Spaz, and have fun on your Montana trip. Hassan, good to see you as well. Ronnie is in the house. What's up? Currently watching me on the train. Ronnie is heading from, where are you going? Maryland to Charlotte? Yeah, you sent me a video a little while ago. I have never been on a long train ride. The longest train I've ever been on is just like an hour and a half or so. I took the train from San Diego up to Anaheim to go to a hockey game, but I've never been like on a long, like 10-hour train ride, and I need to knock that out, get it off the bucket list one of these days. Trains go up here all the way to San Francisco. Elizabeth's been trying to get me to do that forever, so one of these days I'll get my ass on a train. Ronnie, I hope the trip and the ride is going smoothly, and I hope you have a little bit of edible assistance, if you know what I mean, on that trip. How Wheezy is in the house. Good to see you as well, my friend. Appreciate you being here. Jay Lambo, I'm not sure if I got you. Isaac, Shell Shock, right on. Good little crew of you. As always, guys, please make sure you smash that thumbs up button for me, and I would appreciate it. Since we were not up here last week for the Winged Eagle because of Crown Jewel, we're not up here tomorrow for the Winged Eagle because I'm unavailable, and we're not up here next week for the Winged Eagle because it's Full Gear. And guess what? We're not going to be up the next week for the Winged Eagle either because it's Survivor Series. So that's why I'm going to run these news segments. Now, I'm still running this kind of in beta mode. I don't exactly have my news brief segment hammered out exactly the way I want it. So when I can't do a podcast on Saturdays, I have these things and mic drops and other stuff to fall back on to deliver any opinions, news, thoughts, comments, that type of shit to you every week. I want to make sure I have multiple options to do that in case I'm not here on one of my normal scheduled days. So in the next couple of weeks, expect to see a pretty good amount of these news briefs because I think we're going to miss the next like 3 Winged Eagles. But we might come up and do a Winged Eagle on another day, but Sundays doesn't really work for me, especially if there's a pay-per-view. I would hate to come up and do a Full Gear review on Saturday night, then do a podcast on Sunday afternoon, and then the watch-along on Sunday night. That might be just a little bit too much in a short amount of time there. So I think this will offer a good alternative for whenever we can't get up here for our long-form podcast where we discuss the entire week's news and all that. But since we are not up here to do the next few Winged Eagles, usually I do the channel member shout-outs on those podcasts. Since we weren't here last week, I feel like I owe those to you, so I want to go over here to the memberships and thank the following people. William McIlwain, appreciate you, my friend. Ian Joe Dunn, Kevin, Randall Yates, Deshaun Robinson, Zach Palgett, NG Dre, Sean 2018, Jordan Carg, Financial Truth Academy, Devlin Husband, Michael Tong, Ian Dung, Longboard, Sam Pabone, Jeff McMahon, Mikey Too Cool, Luke McAllister, Tar Brehan, Zelius Ward, William, Ian Dunn, Bo Kavlovic, Al Ramos Pro, Zach H., Chris Miner, Mike Witt, Danny Allmark, Jimmy Anderson, you just sent a super chat a little while ago. Thanks again, my friend. C-Mac, Mab, Joshua Aparicio, How Wheezy, Spaz Phoenix, Ronnie, all y'all are in here as well. Nicole Lensing, Marcus the Entertainer, Nikita Abalakin, Divine Ricks, Zane G., Chris Barrera, Michael Kumo, John J.E. Dennett, I got good news for you too. Tatanani, I got good news for you too. Nick Musser, K-Dogs Kennel, Max Pokebra, Spectra, Red Raven Rucker, Reese Jones, Victor Cologne, Isaac, George Morris, Stephen Taylor, Population 420, and the legendary JJ Leg. Thank you very much, guys, for your current memberships on the channel here. If you would like to join, you can do so by clicking the join button right below this video or cruise your little asses down to the description. You'll see a link down there too. Speaking of the description, there's a second link down there for you. Survivor Series 1995 watch along. We are going to do it this Sunday. This is very good news for Tatanani and John Dennett, who really wanted us to do this one, and I know I've talked about Survivor Series 1995 in my past couple of weeks watch-alongs, and I was all dead set to do that one on Sunday anyway, but then last night, as I'm putting thumbnails together and I'm working on the channel, I just couldn't completely decide which Survivor Series I wanted to do on Sunday. I know we're going to do 95. I was like, well, maybe we'll do that next week, so I put up a poll for channel members really late at night. Not many of you saw it, only about 30 of you, and I put a few Survivor Series up there for you guys to pick from, and Survivor Series 2001 was the winner. However, we're going to bump that to next week. Survivor Series 2001 will be done, but it's going to be done a week from Sunday. So I basically had Survivor Series 95 selected, then I changed my mind and let you guys decide. Then when you decided, I changed my mind again, and now we're just going to do both. So the link to Sunday's Survivor Series 95 watch-along is already up. It's in the description. The link to next Sunday's Survivor Series 2001 watch-along will be up later on tonight or this weekend. I just haven't put it up yet. So it's going to be Survivor Series 95 this Sunday the 13th, and then Survivor Series 2001 will be on the 20th, the day after Full Gear, 1 week from this Sunday. And of course, as you guys know, I was at Survivor Series 2001, and you guys are going to see me all throughout that watch along when we do it next week, because I'm very visible all throughout the show right on the hard cam. So that was a fun show to attend in Greensboro. But before we do that, we're going to check out Survivor Series 95 in DC, one of my favorite Survivor Series of all time, because Bret Hart wins the championship in the main event, and there were some really interesting 5-on-5s on this show. One of my favorite Survivor Series and an extremely underrated Survivor Series. This one just had a different vibe to it. I can't explain it. There was something about the show that night in DC, the different theme music they used that was kind of, U.S. Capitol themed. They had the Bill Clinton look-alike in the crowd. Undertaker debuted that weird mask. We had that wild card match that had baby faces and heels on it. We had the big, no-holds-barred match between Bret and Diesel. We had Mr. Perfect returning to the WWE, opening the show and coming out on commentary. And I have fond memories of watching that show, and we'll be sharing that with you on Sunday. So keep that in mind. Go over to that episode right now. Give it a like, a preemptive click, and save it for Sunday. It should be a hoot. So that should do it for the pleasantries there. We need to get into business here, because I got to go to work today. I got a busy night at work and all sorts of shit going on this weekend. I've got my father and my brother-in-law's birthday tomorrow, and we're having a big family event. That's why I'm not available for the podcast tomorrow, so I apologize to you. I'm going to be drinking beers and eating food with my family. I hope you guys are cool with me missing a Saturday due to family stuff, but maybe I'll just tweet while I'm there and say, what's up, guys? I don't know. But unfortunately, we won't be here tomorrow. That's why we're up here today, right before SmackDown airs, to get into some stuff. So why don't we do that? Because I think we're probably going to have this podcast wrapped up in just a little bit over an hour, maybe even less. So on the menu today, basically, as you can see, right there, we're going to talk about CM Punk, Austin Theory, Saraya, Braun Strowman, Road Dogg, and preview the Full Gear card and a little bit of Survivor Series, because we have a handful of mystery partners in that Women's War Games match. And Survivor Series is in Boston, and the babyface team needs 2 partners, and Sasha's been cryptically tweeting a lot lately. We don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. But possibly we could see the boss return in Boston in just a couple of weeks. We will see. But why don't we start out with CM Punk? There was a CM Punk sighting last night. CM Punk returned to Cage Fury Fighting Championships in the commentary booth for CFFC 114. Now, CM Punk signed with Cage Fury Fighting back in November of 2018, but his appearances kind of slowed down once he signed with AEW. But he was a commentator for them pretty regularly, I guess, for about 2.5, 3 years there before he signed with AEW and things really tapered off. But now that CM Punk is not in AEW currently right now, he has resurfaced and rejoined, I guess, a job that he never really technically left, and did some play-by-play for an MMA event last night. I only saw the one clip where CM Punk did mention he missed the fighting, but don't worry, he's not here to do that tonight. I don't know if he's referencing his abysmal performance every time he's gotten in one of those cages, or if he's referencing the fight that happened backstage at All Out. I don't know. Either way, I mean, I don't agree with anything CM Punk did. I am on the side or in the camp of people that believe he should be removed from AEW, that what he did was unacceptable and unforgivable, and he was the one that was in the wrong first. Doesn't matter what Kenny and the Bucks did after the fact. There's a lot of people at the end of the day were in the wrong, but the person that started it and caused this whole shitstorm was CM Punk. But that doesn't mean that I'm not saddened by what happened. That doesn't mean it makes me happy that CM Punk was the one at fault here and the Elite are coming back and he's going to be gone. I didn't want that to happen. I wanted CM Punk to still be in AEW right now, having the time of his life and being one of the top members of the roster. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So we just have to be honest with ourselves. And even though I don't appreciate what Punk did, I feel like he needs to look in the mirror and blame himself for a lot of that shit that went down there, and he could have handled a lot of things better. But that doesn't mean I'm not still happy to see him doing stuff. He seems happy. He looked a lot less maybe he got some Just for Men or something, but he didn't look as weathered and tore back as he has in AEW. He's getting old. He's like me. He's getting the gray hairs come in, and he just looks like beat up and old and sick and tired, or whatever he said at the scrum that night. But he looked pretty happy. He looked, his face was clear. He looked lively. He was energetic. He was joking. He seemed to be happy. So, that's all I can really ask for. If CM Punk is happy and in a good place and he's moving on and beginning the steps to move on with his life, I think that's fantastic. If this is just maybe the beginning of him getting himself back out there, and maybe there's still some sort of an outside chance that he could come back into AEW one day, who knows? We haven't heard any information, at least I don't think, about any sort of finalization on the contract buyout. Since he's starting to make appearances, it would make you wonder if maybe that has been quietly done, but maybe it hasn't, and maybe there still is some sort of an outside hope that after enough time goes by and CM Punk has already recovered from his injury, if maybe parties can get back together and talk. I don't know. I certainly wouldn't want to rule that out, but I believe it's best not only for AEW, for Tony Khan, and for pro wrestling in general to abandon the CM Punk AEW experiment, because it didn't work. It worked for a year, but it all came crashing down, and I don't really see how you can come back from that, especially when you have other locker room leaders getting in the face of him, telling him he's a cancer and a detriment to the business and that kind of stuff. But whether we see him again, I don't know. It was kind of nice to see CM Punk, though. I mean, I was there at Double or Nothing. I watched him win the world title. And I had said prior to going to that event that I had never seen CM Punk wrestle before in my entire life. Never seen him live in the ring in person ever. And the one time I get to see him is right near the end of his run, right when the turmoil has already began. And he actually wins the title, coughs it up immediately, comes back, wins it again, and goes home. So I saw one of CM Punk's last 3 matches that he had. I think he had 3 more after that. So it's crazy. So who knows what the future holds for CM Punk? Maybe he's going to start dipping his toes back into that MMA water in terms of being an analyst or a commentator. He still has a name value. He's still, there's a lot of, I'm sure, MMA promotions that would love his services in terms of, a personality on the mic or something like that. I don't think he's going to be getting in the ring anymore in MMA, but in terms of being somebody who can be there and offer insight or whatnot, he is still CM Punk, and he still does bring that name value with him. So the best of luck to CM Punk, even though, like I said, I believe he is in the wrong in the elite fight, in the brawl out and the scrum gate stuff, that behavior of his, eating that muffin, going off, saying the things he was saying, using the language he was saying, and doing and acting that unprofessionally right next to the owner. To me, I don't even know what kind of a human brain can possibly defend that. I just don't understand how anybody can possibly defend that behavior. But that doesn't mean I don't have no love in my heart at all for CM Punk. There's a big part of me, like I've said for the last 2 months now, that is sad and devastated that this happened. You think I wanted this? This is a horrible thing that happened to wrestling, not just CM Punk, not just Kenny Omega, not just the Young Bucks, not just Tony Khan, but to pro wrestling in general. This is not the type of shit you want to see. So now that we have seen one of these parties, we're about to see the Elite resurface at Full Gear. Now we've seen the other party, show up on TV, speaking. Seems like he's fine. And, at the end of the day, that is what makes me happy. Now, the Elite are pretty much set to return at Full Gear. They ran another vignette on Wednesday on Dynamite that seemed to imply that Full Gear would be the time we see them come back. And that's kind of obvious. I figured once they ran that first vignette teasing their return, I'm like, well, a pay-per-view is right around the corner. That probably would be a good spot for them to return. And I don't know if they're just going to come out at the pay-per-view and make their return and cut a promo or something, or if they are going to target immediately the Death Triangle, because the Death Triangle was featured in one of those Elite vignettes in terms of them now being the Trios champions after they were taken away from the Bucks and Kenny. So I think as soon as they come back, they're going to do, I think, pretty much what CM Punk did when he was on the shelf. And he came back and he was able to win his title back. So I think, and the plan, I think, after All Out, had Scrumgate never happened, was for CM Punk to continue his run and probably drop the title to MJF. So I think it'll be the same thing here with them. So I don't see any other I don't see any other direction unless they wanted to branch Kenny off, into a main event or something. But I think there's time to do that. I think Kenny and the Bucks should come and get some closure on that whole thing. They won the trios belts and had to give them up. I'd like to see them win them back, have a little run with them, and then pass them off before you probably do move Kenny on back into the main event scene, because by then we might have MJF as our world champion in AEW. And I think there's a really good chance, based on, Jon Moxley's situation too, just like Death Triangle. I think Death Triangle, as good as they are and as credible as they are as a trio, as trios champions, you can't help but think they're kind of placeholders right now until Kenny and the Bucks come back. And Jon Moxley, unfortunately, even though I think he's the top dog in AEW, he's I think one of the top main eventers in the world, and he's awesome, fucking juggernaut. I love him. He is there primarily because of what happened to CM Punk. He was supposed to drop that belt and take some time off. He's supposed to be on vacation, maybe even back from vacation by now, but now he had to come back, fill in, and hold the title for a little bit longer until they're ready to pass it to the next guy. And based on everything we've seen from MJF, the build to this, that interview on that podcast he did that they showed on Wednesday night was very well done. He feels like he's the man, and I feel like he's going to take the title at Full Gear. So I kind of think that Moxley and the Death Triangle will not be holding those belts for very much longer. The question is, if the Elite come back, are they going to have the trios tag match at Full Gear, or are they just going to come back, appear in the ring, cut a promo, challenge Death Triangle maybe on TV or something? I have no idea. But generally, for AEW pay-per-views, we usually have about 35 to 36 matches on there. So there's definitely room. We already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-ish matches. There's definitely room to stick another one on there if they wanted to. We know that. So we will see how all that goes. But CM Punk has shown his face back in MMA. And you know what? We wish him the best. We really do. Nothing at the end of the day against CM Punk other than what he did. I've always been a fan, and I think that's what hurts the most is, when people you're a fan of disappoint you. I've been there several times, so this is something I'm used to. What's up? Anybody else that's saying hello in here? I saw a couple of yo's. Now I lost him. Whoever just said yo a couple times in the chat, yo back. What's going on, man? Gilbert, I don't even see Bellator touching an injury-prone, brittle, winless fighter. He's got to bite the bullet and negotiate with Hunter, maybe. But, I mean, at the same time, you got to think about what CM Punk wants to do with his life. Financially, does he need WWE? I don't think CM Punk needs to work another day in his life if he doesn't want to. But if he wants to do things that interest him and that he has interest in, an MMA commentary job is very low stress. It gets him out there. It keeps his name out there, keeps him relevant, keeps him on TV. Probably, doesn't pay him very much, but at the same time, he doesn't really need to be paid very much. And based on everything that happened in AEW, he does not seem like a guy to me who's ready to jump right back into another long-term contract. So if he's going to bite the bullet and negotiate with Hunter, I think Hunter might be the one to need to bite the bullet and negotiate with him. They're both going to be needing to bite some bullets, and there's going to be a lot of compromise, I believe, needed on both ends for a relationship like that to even work. And based on everything we've already seen from CM Punk and AEW, if he can't get along with them, who the fuck's he going to get along with? And I just don't know. I think it's just best for him just to do what makes him happy. And that's really all I care about when it comes to CM Punk. As long as he's happy and he's not causing chaos in the wrestling business, I'm pretty much fine with whatever he chooses to do. Best of luck to Phil. How about Austin Theory this past Monday on Raw? My God, what a busy day for me on Monday. I was doing shit all day and I was overtired. And I was trying to watch Raw. I probably watched, 35 to 40% of the show. It was off and on. And I could tell it was kind of just, a lackluster show. I don't think the ratings did very good. Of course, it's Monday Night Football season. But we did see some interesting things happen. Number one was the return of Mia Yim. Mia Yim was the woman that the OC was referencing as their answer to Rhea Ripley. So they are not going to be bringing back Charlotte or Beth Phoenix or anything like that. It is Mia Yim. Great to see her back in the WWE. We had heard some stories. Fightful was kind of tossing her name around a couple of days before her debut. So she was on the radar of someone that they could bring back. We know Triple H, how he feels about her. And my only The only thing that makes me sad is that, maybe as much as I love Keith Lee, I love him in AEW. I wonder if he would have if he would have been way better off if he just would have waited until Triple H took over in WWE, because I do not think Triple H would have done to Keith Lee what Vince McMahon did to him. And it would be nice to have, this couple together in the same promotion. But now we can add yet another couple that is branched and stretched out across two promotions. And Mia Yim back in WWE on the main roster now, which is good for her. And she came out at the beginning of that Seth Rollins Open Challenge when it looked like Finn Balor was going to answer it. So then the OC came out and Mia Yim came out and they had the big brawl or whatever, and Seth would come out to do his Open Challenge later on. So I was curious, since it was Monday Night Raw, I'm like, well, they could bring somebody back. I don't know if they wanted to bring any sort of a major name in here to challenge Seth Rollins or what. And then as Rollins is in the ring, this is the only thing I didn't like, and it's one of the things I don't like about all open challenges, is because when you have an open challenge, like I've been saying so often for the past couple of years now, whenever there's an open challenge, how come people aren't in the back? Because there's no rules in the back. How come there aren't people in the back trampling each other, tearing each other's eyes out, ripping each other's hair out, hitting each other with baseball bats, trash cans, kicking their knees out from under them, doing whatever they can to get to that ring first? Think about how hard people fight each other in the Royal Rumble for a shot at the title. Think about the sacrifices they make. People go in at number one and last an hour just to get an opportunity to face for the title. And here you're given one for free, and you're just going to sit back in catering and eat a banana? Get your ass out there, all of you. There should be a Royal Rumble at Gorilla right now to get out to that ring. So when Ali appears on camera and he's on the Tron, and he's telling Seth that he's going to answer the challenge, if I'm a wrestler and I see Ali all the way in the back of the building in front of a camera and I'm near the entranceway, you snooze, you lose, bitch. I'm heading through that curtain and I'm going to go down there and challenge Seth Rollins. So I don't understand what the roster is doing back there. When you have a wrestler in the ring screaming on the mic, anybody who wants a shot at my title can have one. What are they doing? What are they doing? I'm dying to know what they're doing. Are they all playing video games? How many of them played in video games? How many of them are taking a shit? How many of them are eating and catering? How many of them have their headphones on or working out? Are none of them paying attention? Nobody's got an eyeball on a monitor or got their ears open listening for shit? So why is Ali the only one that seems to know about this open challenge? And then he is interrupted by Bobby Lashley, who just beats him up right there on camera and then looks in the camera and says, I'm coming to answer the challenge. And then he comes down to the ring. So he comes down to the ring seemingly to answer Seth Rollins' open challenge, only to beat the shit out of Seth, winds up putting him through a table, and then the match doesn't happen. He just leaves the ring. I thought Lashley was going to come down there and challenge, but instead he just destroyed Seth Rollins, and that's when Austin Theory comes down to the ring. And I already mentioned this way back over the summer. I said, could Austin Theory cash in on the U.S. title? Because he's not going to be taking the belts off of Roman anytime soon. So if we know that's not an option, what's the point of the briefcase? We even saw him go to NXT and tease it there. So I've already had the idea about him cashing in on the U.S. title, because why not? When Roman Reigns is monopolizing two belts, the IC and the U.S. title should be the biggest belts on Raw. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure Seth Rollins said that in his promo. This is the most important belt on the show, because it's the only belt on the show, really, the only singles belt. So they have been putting it over and trying to, increase the value of these titles a little bit after so many years of just frequent title changes and meaningless programs, and just the titles have been devalued so much over the years. They're finally, starting to get built back up here, I feel like, and having Theory cash in the briefcase on the U.S. title, I actually think is a good thing. But I think the problem a lot of fans had was the way he did it. So once Lashley comes to the ring and destroys Seth, then Theory comes out and decides he's actually going to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase this time and do it for real. He's already had a couple of failures. So he officially cashes in the briefcase. The match starts. The bell rings. So as soon as I heard that bell, I said, that's it. One way or the other, the briefcase is gone. And that's surprising, because we have heard rumors to the contrary. We have heard rumors that WWE has been thinking about maybe keeping the briefcase on Theory for the full calendar year until the next Money in the Bank. And I really thought that was an interesting concept, because if the next Money in the Bank pay-per-view falls before that calendar year is up, technically Austin Theory would either have a chance to win 2 briefcases if he entered himself into the next match, or somebody else could win, and now we have 2 briefcases. Okay, I think we're back up. I'm sorry about that. We had a brief disconnection there. I don't know why, but we seem to be fine now. When I was interrupted, I was talking about the possibility of having 2 briefcases. So if Triple H's plans are to move the men's and women's Money in the Bank to WrestleMania, I can understand maybe wanting to get the briefcase off of Theory, but I also think it would be fun, the idea of having 2 briefcases as well. It's also possible that maybe the Money in the Bank briefcase concept is just going to be scrapped altogether. You know, when you think about it, moving back to WrestleMania, part of me thinks that's good, but it's also like almost unneeded because WrestleMania is already such a big show. You don't need those Money in the Bank matches to really sell the show. You're going to have enough big matches on there to where Money in the Bank is not necessary, and you could still keep it at a pay-per-view. Although last year WWE had to move it out of Allegiant Stadium because they weren't selling enough tickets. So maybe if WWE had plans to make Money in the Bank a stadium show, and now they're realizing that's not going to be possible, they're scrapping it all together, maybe in favor of the King of the Ring or something. No idea yet. I feel like the whole Money in the Bank concept might be a little bit in limbo right now. We don't know. But as soon as that bell rang on Monday and that match was underway between Theory and Seth, that meant no more briefcase. So Theory then immediately hit his finisher on Seth Rollins, which Seth Rollins kicked out of. And oh man. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I don't think he kicked out of him. He hit his finisher on Seth, and then out of the blue, I think it was Lashley that showed back up. That's what it was. Lashley pulls Seth Rollins out from under the ring, or I'm sorry, pulls Theory out from under the ring, surprising everybody. I thought that was going to be the 3 count for sure, because once Theory cashed it in, you kind of felt like he was going to win the title. He's already been U.S. champion, which is another thing you have to remember. This is a guy cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase on a title that, number 1, he's already held, and number 2, was just being defended and had an opportunity to be defended in an open challenge match. Meaning, while Ali and Bobby Lashley were having their little scuffle backstage, he could have just ran right out to the ring and challenged Seth Rollins anyway. Instead, he wastes his briefcase on this. Lashley then pulls Theory outside of the ring and stops him from winning. I think he beats the shit out of him. Theory is being counted out by the referee. He gets up at the count of 9, slides back in the ring to beat the count at the last minute, only to eat a stomp from Seth Rollins, who rolls him over and pins him and retains the United States title. And Theory has failed his cash-in. He gets thrown on the pile with Baron Corbin and Damian Sandow for maybe the worst cash-ins of all time, and cash-ins that a lot of fans felt like he was buried. I think Otis didn't have a very good one either. I think the build and the concept and the idea of Money in the Bank matches are much better than the results of these matches. The last few Money in the Bank winners have kind of, been a little bit lackluster. The payoffs have been a little bit lackluster. And here's another one that we can add to the list of one that just didn't go really well. So another thing you have to remember too is that Theory was a Vince McMahon project. Theory won the Money in the Bank with Vince still in charge, or with Vince just about to be on his way out, right? So he was kind of like a Vince project. Maybe Triple H is just finishing up, undoing or fixing a lot of the stuff that Vince set in motion that he did not like. Or maybe, like the rest of us, he's looking at Theory and saying, we're not taking the belt off of Roman. Everybody should understand, looking at Theory, that this fool has no chance whatsoever of beating Roman. So if he has no chance of beating Roman anyway, and that's not going to be the plan for him to cash in any weird situation, let's just get the briefcase off of him, and this is the way they chose to do it. Unfortunately, it made Theory look really bad in the process, to where a lot of fans were complaining about his booking, bitching about the logic of it. And I kind of found that funny because all I've heard about Theory is negativity. Nobody. Do any of you in the chat want anything to do with an Austin Theory and WWE title run? Do you want him to be the one to cash in successfully and beat Roman Reigns, or to beat the person that beat Roman Reigns? I don't think anybody wants that. Nobody's ready for him. Nobody wants him to win the title. So if he's not going to win the title anyway, what's the difference how he loses the briefcase? He's a heel. He's a dumb heel. He's already been embarrassed a couple of times when he's tried to cash this thing in. So it's not like he didn't do anything as a character that we as the audience wouldn't expect. This was typical Theory. Fucking dumb and young and making mistakes. That's what he does. And he did it again. And I also think that if you're trying to accomplish something with Theory, if you're trying to tell the story, of Theory to where he makes it and achieves great heights one day, I almost feel like you have to hit that rock bottom. before you get there. If you want to tell that story properly or effectively, I think Theory has to hit that absolute low point, and this might be it to where he can start his comeback. So some fans are saying that. Some fans, see it all the way through, or let's see where it goes. But a lot of fans don't even want to hear that. They're like, I don't want to see where it goes because that was stupid. They had him come out there, cash in on an open challenge when he could have just ran out there 5 minutes earlier and got the match for free, and now he looks like a fucking moron. I agree. I just personally don't have a problem with it. I don't know why everybody's rushing to the defense with this recreational outrage to be mad about how Theory is booked. Everybody hates Theory. Nobody wants this buffoon to win the title. So if they're going to hold back on him and take him down this road of making mistakes, of letting his ego, his cockiness, his immaturity get the best of him to where he embarrasses himself and humiliates himself, and he hits that rock bottom moment only to learn from those mistakes, build himself back up, and perhaps win that briefcase a second time. If they do it again, I know fans wouldn't like to see that, but if they do another Money in the Bank briefcase match, whether it's at WrestleMania or on the standalone pay-per-view, and he wins that one, then he can say, now I've got this briefcase with the knowledge of what not to do. And I've learned from what happened last time, and maybe then he is successful, cashing in on a Cody or a Kevin Owens or a Sami Zayn or some beloved babyface champion at the time. Cashing in on that person down the road might be a lot more fun. So you can debate whether or not how Triple H decided to take the Theory off of briefcase, or take the briefcase off of Theory was good or not. I personally don't mind it. I didn't think it was the worst thing in the world. And the last thing I'm going to waste my time with is being angry about how Theory was booked. Anything that keeps him away from the world title right now was fine with me. Why they had to do him like that, I don't know. That's why I think there might be some sort of backstory with the story they're trying to tell with him. I was even keeping my eye out on the internet the next day. I was checking out Fightful Select and checking out some of the websites to see if perhaps there was some wellness policy violation or some suspension coming from Theory, because usually when you see something like that, like the next day, you hear that they're suspended. But he wasn't, so he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't piss anybody off, or at least he didn't, break any rules. Maybe he did something behind the scenes. There's so many possibilities as to why he did that. Maybe he pissed off management. Maybe he did something he wasn't supposed to do. Maybe he showed up late that day. Maybe he was disrespectful to somebody. Who knows? Could have nothing to do with that, but maybe there could be a reason behind that as well. I think if there was some internal reason for how he was booked in terms of, his booking being a punishment, I think we would have heard that by now. So it sounds like this is legitimately what WWE wanted to do with him, and I'm willing to see it through. I have remarkable patience. I don't need to have my cake and eat it yesterday. I'm perfectly fine with whatever. I forgot I set this thing on a loop. Sorry about that. It keeps fading. I'm perfectly fine with, how WWE chose to do this, provided it's just not burying a guy for the sake of burying him. And I know Triple H isn't all perfect. I said that right from the start, even though we're going to see a monumental improvement in WWE, the quality of creative and things like that now with Vince gone. Triple H is still going to be Triple H, and Triple H still has been in that WWE system for 25 years now, and he's still going to do a lot of things that will resemble Vince and will resemble typical WWE tropes. But at the end of the day, I still think what Triple H is doing is way more better and constructive than what Vince McMahon ever would have done in the company. So I think that I'm willing to... I guess I'd be more upset, maybe more irritated if this was Vince doing this, because then I would be like, Vince, you just spent the last 6 months getting this guy over yourself. You've been very hands-on with him on TV, only to fuck him over and bury him like that. What are you thinking? But since this is Triple H doing this, and Theory is he's an after effect of the end of Vince's run, maybe Triple H is just trying to clean up everything so he can really get a good reset in 2023 or after WrestleMania 39 or whatever. But Theory lost the briefcase in a humiliating fashion on Monday Night Raw, and I actually thought it was pretty funny. Maybe I was overtired. Maybe I just didn't feel like engaging in the discourse. But when I was reading, Twitter and things online, it was just, everything was just so angry about Theory. I'm like, when the hell did everybody start caring about Theory? Ever since Monday, every day prior to Monday, all I heard was anti-Theory. Now he's on everybody's Mount Rushmore. Go figure. I don't know. But that was pretty fun. Theory is no longer a Money in the Bank briefcase holder, and we will see what he has to say about that on Monday. And I even tweeted that night. I said, you know, it's possible. It is possible that they could loophole or backdoor the briefcase back to him if he makes up some bullshit. Oh, it still clearly states in the contract that you have to challenge for the world title or something like that. Then maybe they can get it back to him. You know, Charlotte is the only one to go outside the box there. Charlotte challenged Rhea Ripley for the NXT title, but that was still a world title. U.S. title is not. So I could see a scenario where Theory comes out and blames Bobby Lashley for costing him the pin and claims that it wasn't valid anyway since it wasn't for the world title. Maybe Theory knew that. Maybe they could say, maybe Theory could be like, you know, I was reading through the Money in the Bank contract and I was reading, you know, what it states specifically, and it was very specific about the world championship. So maybe he came out there, decided to cash it in, thinking the referee wouldn't know any difference. And if he rings the bell, then voila, he's got himself a free championship match. And then if he fails in that attempt, then he can say, oh, well, it wasn't valid anyway, so I still have my briefcase. But if he wins, then he'll actually win the title. Maybe that was Theory's thinking on it. I have no idea. But we might hear from him on Monday Night Raw, and we might... Sorry about that. We had another brief interruption there. I was talking about Seth Rollins, and I was talking about his babyface turn. I think we saw that at the end of Raw on Monday, the way he came out of that match and being attacked by Lashley. I feel like they were trying to get Lashley over as a heel so he can go into his rubber match with Brock, a heel versus a babyface match. And I think Seth Rollins essentially turned babyface on Monday Night Raw. Monday was the 10-year anniversary of the Shield's debut, right? Or his debut in WWE. Isn't that what he said? And he's got the dyed yellow hair again, and the blonde hair, kind of a throwback to that, and then beats Theory in the main event. I kind of think Seth Rollins is a babyface now, and that's great too. So we will see what happens on Monday, but I would not be surprised if Theory either comes out there and claims the cash-in wasn't valid and tries to get the briefcase back, or gets himself a rematch for the United States title and potentially wins it. Maybe he beats Seth Rollins on Monday for the U.S. title, and then Ali beats Theory for that. I think maybe they could go in some direction there on Monday. Keep a lookout. We shall see. As we saw this past week's Dynamite, Saraya and Britt Baker had quite the little promo battle between the two, where Saraya officially announced that she is cleared to compete in the ring in AEW. Now, this is something we assumed from the moment she came in. As soon as she got there, she started saying this was her house. By week 2, she's getting physical, throwing punches in the ring, and that was all I needed to see. I'm like, I feel like she's cleared, but that really wasn't the case. She announced that she was officially cleared on Wednesday, sparking a lot of speculation amongst fans online about her safety, and AEW will clear anybody, and it's this Dr. Sampson and he's going to let her wrestle, and this is so dangerous and irresponsible. People just shooting off at the mouth, talking about somebody's personal health that they know nothing about. All right, we briefly went down again. Hopefully this will not be much of a thing. I apologize for that. I don't know why this seems to be happening again. I will check if there are any updates available as soon as the stream is over and try to get a hold on this or a handle on this for this weekend, but I apologize for that. Before I was interrupted, I was talking about Saraya being cleared to compete in an AEW ring, and she had an appearance. She was a guest on Renee Paquette's The Sessions podcast, where she kind of detailed how her being cleared came to be, and it was a really long really long kind of story here, how she talked about going to see multiple doctors. It wasn't just Dr. Sampson in AEW. She even acknowledged that wrestling doctors might be biased, or they might be prone to clear somebody who isn't ready or whatever. Claims she spoke to 25 doctors, asked a lot of questions, got a thorough, comprehensive evaluation of her neck and the fluid and the problems and her future and what she can't do, what she can do, even talked about potential paralysis and if that's a real risk or not, and detailed all of these things that she went through with the doctor, and even how when he finally gave her the green light and said, "You are fully cleared to wrestle," she said she burst out into tears, and he said that when she asked how many matches she can do and how hardcore she can come back, he said, take it easy, try to do 1 match per month and take it from there, see how you feel, trust your body. If you feel like something's not right, take some time off or whatever, and just told her to be careful, and provided she's careful, she should be good to go. And she talked about how she would see guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Edge and Bryan Danielson coming back, having matches, and wondering if that's something that would be an option for her as well. She had a very similar injury to like an Edge and an Austin and a lot of neck stuff and all of that. So they were able to come back. They were able to wrestle. She thought about that, talked to some doctors, and claims that she got officially cleared on Halloween on October 31st, which was only 11 days ago. So that means she was signed with AEW prior to them knowing she was cleared. I was assuming that they brought her on knowing that she's going to be able to get in the ring. And I think they probably signed her. Tony Khan probably signed Saraya knowing that there's an excellent likelihood she'll be able to get back in the ring. I think she probably talked to him about that. She mentioned some of her conversations with Tony Khan, how she was interested in getting back in the ring, and Tony had suggested some tag team matches like they do with Sting, but she said, I want to get back in there. I want to have a singles match. I want to go one-on-one and be back, full on. And apparently she has been given the green light to do that. So she is going to take it easy. She's going to have her first match. It is official at Full Gear. Saraya versus Britt Baker. That should be good and should be interesting to see how Saraya performs in the ring, if she has any ring rust issues or anything like that. It's been a long time. It's been 5 years since she's really been in the ring. I'm sure she's going to be training a little bit and working at it, and hopefully her return match against Britt Baker can be a classic, because that's what I want for both women. So best of luck to Saraya. Happy she is officially back, and it will be interesting to see how she performs in AEW and what kind of a run she can give herself there. And as long as she's healthy and she has no issues and she's in the ring for a while and there's no issues seem to be there, then if I'm Tony Khan, think about belting her up, but just don't do it too early, because you don't want to find yourself in a CM Punk situation where you put the belt on her, this great return, this wonderful moment for Saraya, and then she's injured and has to forfeit the title. Just make sure she's good, she's healthy, and she's 100%. And as long as she's performing well, having a good time, fans are responding to her, and her matches are good, she's a big name, recognizable face that could be an excellent future world champion in their company, especially if she legitimately wants AEW to be her house. So best of luck to Saraya. Really, really good news, and wish her the best there. Someone who I don't really wish the best to is our friend Braun Strowman. Oh man, Braun Strowman was at it again this week. Of course, he has recently returned to WWE wearing his big red skinny jeans and all that, and he's been mowing down people on WWE. And of course, he had his big match with Omos at Crown Jewel last week. And earlier on the week, Braun Strowman tweeted out this: "Holy hell." At Giant Omos tweets, or he tags Omos, "Holy hell, Omos, can you believe we got 47 stars?" And reminded the people that no one cares about all these flippy floppers. Giants and monsters are better than flippy, flipper, bag your groceries at Kroger, hashtag airport test, hashtag size is the prize, hashtag swole is the goal, hashtag Braun Strowman is a fucking dumbass. My God, this guy, he'll never learn, he'll just never learn. We did hear, I'm going to read an article from Fightful Select here in a minute, where since Strowman's return to the company, he does seem to be on his best behavior and has been behaving just fine behind the scenes. However, online Braun, social media Strowman is a completely different animal. And we've heard this idiot say stupid shit before. He was extremely insensitive during the pandemic. People having real problems, forced out of their jobs and out of, their livelihoods. And his advice is to get better jobs, because I lived in a Kia and drove down to Florida and started my life, and because I was doing something else and it wasn't working for me, so I changed gears. Just completely tone deaf and idiotic statement to make when the entire globe is going through something that it's never gone through before. And it's a problem we as humans have never really faced before to this degree. And he has such simple answers for how to fix it. It's really easy when you're sitting on $1 million to tell everybody else what they should be doing with their lives. You know what I mean? So he's already done this before. He's already said shit like this before. He's already tried to control his narrative before. Braun comes off as just somebody that's just not very bright. He's always been that way. But since coming back to WWE, I've put over how good he looks. He looks like looks to be in amazing shape. When you look at him when he started to how he is now, it looks like two different people. I also think he makes another potential excellent challenger for Roman Reigns. I said it would be fun to see those two revisit their issue from 2016 when Roman was getting his ass kicked by Braun Strowman all the time. Every week he was losing to him in pay-per-views and matches and shit like that. I don't know how Roman escaped that program with his title, because Braun Strowman was just kicking his ass. Maybe not all those matches were for the title, but some were. So I felt like now that he's back, that is something they could revisit again. And the match he had with Omos at Crown Jewel was good. It was it was about as good as we could expect, from two guys that size. That was either going to be the worst match we ever saw, or it was going to be something that was passable. I think it was the best match Omos has ever had, and I thought the two did pretty well for what it was. That match should have and could have been a disaster, and instead, it wasn't that bad. So instead of being happy with that, this guy wants to go out and brag. I'm glad that he's excited. I'm glad he's proud of the match he had. But why does he have to call out and put down and demean other wrestlers that are in the very same profession as him? What is it about this man that makes him feel like he has to say that? I'll tell you what it is. It's insecurity. Plain and simple. It's as clear as day. The truth is written all over his tweets. You see behavior like this all over social media, especially with certain politicians, one bloated orange fuck that I can think of, who's incredibly insecure, who constantly has to put down others and talk about himself. There's some YouTubers and Twitter people like that as well. I'm so great. Look at me, everybody. Look at me. That's the behavior of somebody who has severe problems and somebody who's incredibly insecure and has things about themselves that they don't like, which is why they take the time to put down others. It's the most basic of college psychology classes will teach you this. And Braun Strowman acting like this, being so disrespectful to people that are in his profession that he shares a locker room with, I think is just so fucking... Why would you do this? What is he doing when he's sitting there? Oh, you flippy floppy. What is it with these big men? You know, they think that everybody that doesn't do what they do is inferior to them. You know, that's like, that's that center of the universe complex that so many people have. And I just thought it was so insensitive and so stupid for him to go out of his way. It's one thing if you want to like throw shade at the fans or whatever, or the IWC or whatever you want to call them. That's one thing. But you are personally insulting 40% of your coworkers. And I'm glad that a lot of people called him out from both promotions, from everywhere, AEW, New Japan, and in WWE. Ali quote tweeted him and said, "Can you teach me how to get fired?" I think that was my favorite response of all, because Braun Strowman's doing a lot of shit talking for a guy that was told to hit the bricks just a couple of years ago and was brought back. He's always been, and he's already kind of been looked at, people kind of snicker at some of his comments and, his personality, because he just comes off as a dumb motherfucker. There's really no way there's no better way to describe this guy. Is just fucking clueless, doesn't know when to keep his mouth shut, and he tweets like, he's a 17-year-old who just got fucking Facebook for the first time or something, just tweeting anything that comes on his mind or comes across his mind and just tweets it out, doesn't think about it. With that new Twitter Blue that I've signed up with now, it's awesome. It actually gives you like a 30-second grace period. When you click tweet, it says sending tweet, and it takes a few minutes or it takes a few seconds, giving you a chance to reread it, make sure there's not a typo, or maybe make sure you really want to send that out. So, that's actually a good feature that I think can be useful for a lot of people in social media. But Braun Strowman saying that was just kind of an eye-rolling type of thing. Chris Jericho called him out, said, "Hey, I bagged groceries." A lot of wrestlers probably bagged groceries and did a lot of stuff to make it to where they, to the heights that they made it. Serpentico responded to him. Will Ospreay, a lot of guys called him out for that stupid comment, and I loved it. Now, later on, he tries to backtrack. Later on, he tries to backpedal, of course, right? Once he gets called out by his peers and his coworkers, he says, "Oh, you calm down, IWC. You guys come at me nonstop, and the minute I shoot back, you guys flip out, can't take a joke," or something like that. I'm like, you weren't directing your comments at the IWC. Don't bullshit. Don't act like it's the IWC you were directing. You were personally trying to make yourself look better and other people look worse. Just because you're big and you can run around, you fucking got muscles, you're somehow better at your job than Ali is at his. No, sir, you are not. So it's that type of attitude, it's that type of mentality, it's that type of arrogance that I cannot believe that you would want to have in pro wrestling, knowing the type of trouble and heat that can get you with management, with your coworkers in the locker room when you're already kind of not very well liked to begin with, and then you just double down on your stupidity and say dumb shit. I just think at the end of the day, Braun Strowman, probably should have had some therapy when he was a kid or something. I think he's not fully developed, socially. He's inept in a lot of ways, in how he adults, so to speak. And when you read stuff like that, it's just something I would expect from like a fucking college freshman. He was dating the captain of the cheerleaders or something, and is just a cocky, arrogant jerk off and hasn't realized yet that none of that shit gets you anywhere in the real world. And I think that when you just come back and you re-sign with WWE, you got brought back in, why would you do anything to jeopardize that so soon? Because management apparently did have a problem with this. Fightful Select released an article yesterday, and I quote, Braun Strowman, or it says the heat on Braun Strowman is very real. And Braun Strowman gained criticism from several of his colleagues after WWE Crown Jewel when he targeted grocery baggers and flippy wrestlers with numerous talent speaking out. Those that we spoke with said that Strowman has actually been on his best behavior backstage since returning to WWE and had been easy to deal with. But social media Braun has been another story. WWE management is aware of it, and at least one that we spoke to thought it was an immature approach by Strowman. No shit. It was reiterated to us that it's not a part of an ongoing or upcoming angle and likely won't be turned into one. However, it was suggested to us that Strowman could eventually be ribbed or referenced on screen or on commentary for his stance. One wrestler who claims they'll never do a flip in their life said that the tweets shouldn't have happened, saying, "We need them and they need us. Wrestling is everything. There's very little truly right and wrong. He didn't come up in the business doing things that a lot of those people did, so he probably doesn't understand." And those final 5 words right there are exactly what the problem is here. He doesn't understand, or he probably doesn't understand, right? How many words is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, But I think there's a lot of stuff that Braun Strowman doesn't understand. And that's just one of them. I think anytime Braun Strowman does something like this, says something stupid, says something insensitive, tone deaf, or just plain dumb, it's because he doesn't understand the most basic things that a human should understand. And I think at the end of the day, that's his problem, because who would tweet shit like this? Who in their right mind, who's a mature, well-adjusted adult, would say something that fucking idiotic? It's the same guy that was telling people to get better jobs when everybody was out of work, when half the fucking planet was unemployed. He's blaming us for that. So that tells you all you need to know about Strowman. And I've already been, then he was involved in that control your narrative thing, which is so fucking stupid. Dumbest damn thing, doing wrestling shows for 24 people, and then is going to sit there. AEW wanted nothing to do with him. And then he's going to sit there and pass judgment like he's great and everybody else is just beneath him. Fuck you, Braun Strowman. So he's just a little bit off. I don't like him. I never really have. And I mentioned that when he came back. I'm going to give Braun Strowman a chance because of the shape that he was in. And when he came back and he seemed, maybe to have a fresh start in WWE, new music, new look. He's got a new physique. Maybe, things can be different for Strowman this time. And then he just goes and reminds me why he is the way he is. And he blocked me a long time ago. I gave him shit during that pandemic. When he said that shit during the pandemic, I quote tweeted him and called him an insensitive asshat, and I got blocked for it, which is good. I don't want to see what he says ever again. But unfortunately, I couldn't miss this. And Strowman is Strowman. But at the end of the day, this was one tweet. This isn't something that I think should jeopardize his entire career in WWE or anything like that. At the very worst, I think management might need to pull him aside and say, hey, stop being stupid. You're lucky to be here. So just knock that shit off. Think before you tweet. This is not hard. This is not hard at all. Unless you're a poorly adjusted fuck, you should have no problem being able to tweet like a regular, normal, human fucking adult. So I think at the very worst, he needs a talking to. Braun doesn't need to be fired. He doesn't need to be suspended. I'm not going to bury him for this, but I am going to let him know in some way that that's totally unacceptable. And if the way to get that done is through a couple of ribs on TV, maybe mentioning some grocery baggers on commentary or in promos or something like that, I can definitely see that happen. Or see that happening, and hopefully Braun at least realizes that, okay, next time I get the urge to tweet something great about myself, don't include any criticisms or put downs of other people, because that just makes me look like an insecure piece of shit. So knock it off, Braun. And as long as you do and you stop being a jerk off, I'll forgive you for this one. You know who else I'm going to forgive? The Road Dogg. The Road Dogg made some waves this week as well when he said on his Oh You Didn't Know podcast that he doesn't think Bret Hart is a great wrestler and thinks that he is a better sports entertainer than Bret. So transcripts come courtesy of Jeremy Lambert at Fightful. Road Dogg began trending on Twitter after he said this, or after he said on his podcast, I don't think Bret Hart is a great wrestler. I think Bret was a better sports entertainer, or I think I was a better sports entertainer than Bret was. That's where the money is. Dogg said that Hart is a, quote, great worker and had a better and a better worker than him. Yeah, no shit. He worked circles around me. He also admitted he didn't feel he was a good wrestler. So Road Dogg's in one breath saying that Bret's great and can run circles around him, but in the same breath says that he's not a very good wrestler at the same time. So, and also feels that he himself is not a great in-ring wrestler. In a YouTube exclusive, Road Dogg clarified his comments. I didn't mean to stir it up. People are saying he's just trolling. No, Disco Inferno trolls. I've seen his Twitter account. He trolls. These are my legitimate feelings that I thought I put out there as honestly as I could. When asked, do you think you didn't think Bret Hart was a great wrestler? That's fair to say. Dogg replied, that's fair to say. I feel that way today. Even though everybody has been angry at me on Twitter, I still feel the same way, but it's just my opinion. I'm sorry I shared an opinion on a platform I was given to share my opinion. So he's Big Lebowskiing this, which is fine. He continued, as an entertainer, if you asked me to go out there and entertain a crowd, I would have different ways to do that other than grappling and wrestling. That's what I meant, and I stand by that. If you disagree, cool, we can have a conversation. I don't think it's an argument worth having because nobody wins. It's just my opinion, which I kind of agree with him on. Road Dogg closed by explaining that he and Bret looked at wrestling in a different way and that he'd be willing to do more comedy while Bret was more serious. Road Dogg goes on to say, and I quote, Bret and I have totally opposite philosophies on wrestling. I love the gaga and sports entertainment. I don't love the ground game. He doesn't love the ground game because he's not good at the ground game, just like Braun Strowman doesn't like the high-flying game because he's not good at the high-flying game. I don't think I'm in the minority when I say that. I also stated Bret was the most over guy, the first over guy I ever saw. It blew my mind that a wrestler could be that over. I said a lot of things on this podcast that I feel like if people give it their time, I'm not giving you clickbait. Don't click. I don't give crap. If you're interested and you're taking time out of your day to comment on social media about how stupid I am, that's cool. I'm pretty stupid, I'll be honest. I did a lot of dope and got hit in the head with a lot of chairs. I don't have very good common sense. That's hilarious. I don't have very good common sense. However, I've been doing this a minute and I feel it's okay for me to share my opinion. If not, please let me know. You took the time to comment on Twitter, give it a listen. You're going to disagree with me on a lot of things I say, but surely you'll understand and identify that I'm saying it with respect and from an honest place. If you don't, you're the bad guy in this situation, not me. I just shared my opinion. If you ain't down with that, I got 2 words for you. So Road Dogg basically defended his comments here on Bret the Hitman Hart. One of the reasons why I don't have a huge problem with this is because of who he's talking about. Number one, he's talking about my favorite wrestler, but he's talking about Bret Hart, who has a long storied history of burying everybody in interviews. I mean, he has said some of the worst things about Goldberg and Eric Bischoff and Shawn Michaels and Triple H. He gives no fucks. So why should anybody give any fucks when they talk about him? This is Road Dogg's opinion. I don't agree with Road Dogg's opinion, but this isn't something that I like. Basically, I was way more offended and way more angry or outraged, if you will, over what Braun Strowman said because I thought it was disrespectful and fucking stupid and just pointless. What Road Dogg said was on a podcast, just shooting the shit on his podcast. And when you look at Road Dogg and Bret Hart side by side in the ring, you don't get much more different than that. So I can perfectly understand why Road Dogg would think Bret isn't entertaining, and I can understand why Bret would think Road Dogg isn't entertaining. Because they do opposite of what the other one does. Bret had a great look and he had presence to him, but he wasn't Road Dogg on the mic, certainly. And Bret didn't do a lot of the, the comedy stuff. And Road Dogg was in the ring being very entertaining. He was in the era of the people's elbow and stuff. So he would do his little shimmy and the knee drop, and he would do his, little punches and the dusty elbow, and he would do the crotch thing before he'd hit you. And a lot of his moves like that, there was some sort of little comedy bit in there. He would do that pump handle slam, but he'd fucking dry hump you first. Everything Road Dogg did was like that, where you look at Bret, he's very smooth, he's very deliberate with his offense, and he takes pride in making it look good, making it look real. Road Dogg took pride in making it look entertaining. And so Road Dogg is right. Those are two extremely different philosophies when you have a wrestler who is going out there actively trying to make it look as real as possible, and another wrestler who's actively going out there and trying to make it look as entertaining as possible. Naturally, that's a contrast of styles there. So both guys are probably going to consider themselves better entertainers, because Road Dogg would fire the crowd up. I went to a lot of shows back then in the Attitude Era. I sat in the 4th row on Raw and watched the Outlaws win their first ever tag team titles from the LOD. And I went to a shit ton of Raws and house shows after that in the next year or two. And there were plenty of house shows that I went to where the Outlaws main evented. They closed down the show because they were in DX. They were super fucking over. They were baby faces. They could have a tag match at the end of the night, win that match, and then Road Dogg can send the fans home on the microphone. I was at several house shows where that was the case. And Road Dogg is right in that sense. He is a very entertaining guy because he's great on the mic. He can connect with the people, and he does a lot of entertaining things in the ring. And his opinion is that that style is better for pro wrestling than Bret's style. And I'm not sure as a fan if I agree with that, because I've always been more of a fan of the in-ring stuff and less of the entertainment. I'm still a fan of both. I still love The Rock, and I love anybody who can go out there and be entertaining as hell on the mic or in the ring or in a promo or in a segment or whatever. I just find it better when you can balance that with some good in-ring work. So I don't necessarily agree with Road Dogg, but I certainly don't have a problem with him running his mouth on his own podcast, just talking about stuff, because you know how it goes. When I'm doing watch-alongs even, and we're doing podcasts, sometimes you're just rambling. Sometimes things come up and subjects get talked about you didn't even expect to talk about, and you shoot off an opinion that, maybe, is misconstrued or comes off as a little bit harsh or negative or anything like that. And even though I don't agree with Road Dogg, I don't have a problem with him having this opinion. Now, if Bret Hart was, fucking Mother Teresa, and he was just the greatest guy ever. Every time he went and did an interview, he said wonderful things about everybody he ever worked with, and was humble and nice and polite and kind, and never had a bad thing to say about anybody. Maybe I could get a little bit more annoyed at Road Dogg for attacking a guy that's so nice. It's like when people come after Mick Foley or something like leave him the fuck alone. Mick Foley is literally the nicest teddy bear sweetheart this earth has ever seen. To even attack him means that you are an automatic dickbag and that you've got nothing but rotten shit in your core. So there are people like that. So Road Dogg, though, with these comments on Bret, I didn't even think it was that hot of a take. They are very different wrestlers, and I can understand from Road Dogg's perspective, looking at it from his point of view, I can kind of see how a Road Dogg mind would think that. But this is also a guy who is the worst wrestler in a family of wrestlers, but also the most successful. That's something you got to think about. The Armstrongs, Bullet Bob, of course, was a legend, but in terms of money made and things like that, I think Road Dogg probably eclipses them all. And you could argue that Road Dogg was the worst athletically of all the Armstrongs. Brad Armstrong was, he had a physique, he was athletic, he could throw big drop kicks, and Road Dogg had no body at all. And all of his moves were more dancing moves than actual wrestling moves. So when you think about that, and you think about who Bret is and who Road Dogg is, does it really surprise you that Road Dogg has these opinions? Doesn't surprise me. So you know what, Road Dogg? I ain't got no issue. Even though you criticized my favorite wrestler, I'm still not mad at you. You know what that's called? It's called being an adult. Doesn't bother me. Best of luck to you, Road Dogg. Let's preview some pay-per-views. Why don't we talk about Survivor Series? Like I said earlier, there's only one match really announced so far. That's the Women's War Games match. It's going to be Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, and Asuka teaming up with two mystery partners to take on Damage Control and one partner. So, like I said, I didn't see a whole lot of Raw last Monday night, so I don't know if they have teased when these partners are going to be announced, if they're going to do that on TV leading up to Survivor Series, or if any of these women are going to debut at Survivor Series. So, Survivor Series is in Boston. There's a lot of Sasha Banks talk, but I also feel like Sasha might be on the cusp of doing something very major. She said she's on the verge of announcing something and a date that's coming up that she's been waiting 6 months for, and it's going to be history making and changing and all of this. I can't imagine this big event that she's talking about is just her showing back up on Raw. It feels like whatever she's talking about or speculating about is much bigger than that. And apparently there is some rumors that she could maybe wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom for the brand new New Japan Women's title that apparently is going to be crowned at that show, or they're about to launch a new women's title or a women's title over there. So if Triple H has spoken to them and they've worked out some sort of a deal or something with Sasha's contract where she can actually go over there and win a championship prior to her coming back into WWE, or maybe even going over there, winning the IWGP Women's Championship and then showing up in the Royal Rumble with it. It'd be great publicity for that title, great publicity for New Japan. We could see that. Who knows? That is one of the rumors that I've just seen people talk about online and shit, but, I don't know or have any validity or real evidence that that is going to happen, but people have talked about it. So perhaps we could see Sasha Banks as early as Survivor Series here in Boston, or maybe we don't even see her till next year. Not sure yet, but in the meantime, we have to figure out who's going to be rounding out these 5 women teams at War Games. And then, of course, obviously, now it looks like it's going to be the Bloodline in a War Games match against somebody else as well. So we'll keep our eye on that. But so far, not that much advertised for Survivor Series. Full Gear is looking like this. We have Sting and Darby Allin taking on Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. By the way, shout out to Jeff Jarrett's Braun Strowman comments. What did he say about Satnam Singh on Dynamite? We were watching Dynamite together, but I think I was talking during Jarrett's promo, and I didn't hear him say, this is not a giant in skinny jeans on the Big Nose Circus or whatever he said. So I wouldn't be surprised if they actually change Braun Strowman's outfit up now that Jarrett called him out for his red skinny jeans. So that kind of told you that Jeff might have some bitter feelings towards WWE for being let go the way he did, and I honestly can't blame him. So we've got that tag match on Full Gear. Of course, like we talked about earlier, we have Saraya taking on Dr. Britt Baker. We have the AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament Finals going on as well. We have Jade Cargill defending Nyla Rose's TBS title against Nyla Rose, because Nyla still is in possession of that belt. We have the Ring of Honor World title on the line. Jericho versus Bryan Danielson versus Claudio Castagnoli versus Sammy Guevara in a 4-way. That's fucking great. I didn't even know that thing was announced until I just read it. Interim AEW World's title on the line. Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter. I talked about this could be where we see Thunder Rosa return. I feel like Toni Storm kind of has to beat Jamie Hayter here. I know a lot of fans are ready to see Jamie Hayter make it to that point, because Britt Baker's going to lose to Saraya. So if Britt Baker loses to Saraya and Jamie Hayter comes out of Full Gear with the title, that's going to be a really interesting dynamic in Britt Baker's little group there. But in terms of, AEW's World Championship history, I think it would be better for them if they somehow had Thunder Rosa come back and get the match with Toni Storm before they do a title change. Because if Toni Storm is the interim champion, but she loses the title before Thunder Rosa comes back, like I said a couple of weeks ago, is Toni Storm a former AEW World's Champion then, or is she just a former AEW interim World's Champion? And I think that gums up your title history and lineage, and I like shit to be a little bit more organized than that. So you don't want to use that as a reason to not pull the trigger on somebody who's ready. So if Hayter is ready, then I say fucking do it, no problem. But I would almost maybe book it in a way where Storm beats her, Thunder Rosa comes out, face off with Toni Storm. You do the match on Wednesday, and then we have our official AEW World Champion back. And then you do another match, and maybe Hayter wins down the line, or maybe Britt Baker wins the title since she's going to be doing a job to Saraya. I don't know. But I still have to do my predictions next week. I'll give that match some thought. But right now, I don't know if I want to change the title when it's in its interim limbo. You know what I mean? So we have that as well. Also, AEW World Tag Team titles on the line. Acclaimed defending against Swerve in Our Glory. I would assume here Acclaimed is going to retain there. And finally, we'll get the breakup of Swerve in Our Glory. At least I hope so. And then, of course, in the main event, Jon Moxley defending the AEW World title against MJF. And I'm pretty sure next week when I do my predictions, I will be predicting MJF to win the title. I feel like he's going to do it. And if I'm Tony Khan, I'm pulling the trigger. I'm moving as far away from the CM Punk nonsense as possible and putting the belt on MJF, moving into 2023. Nice, fresh reset, new guy on top. It's what I'm doing if I'm AEW. So that's what we got coming up in the world of wrestling pay-per-views. I'm going to cruise back over here to the chat, knock out any more comments or questions, super chats you guys might have. Also, if you guys can do me a favor, like I've said in the past couple of streams, we are on a like campaign on this channel. It's one part of the analytics that is terrible. Everything else in terms of, audience and that type of stuff and numbers that we do are great. It's just that likes really, really, really need some help. So help me out. Give this video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe if you are not already. Let me cruise over here and knock out super chats that are hanging out. And then I got to bounce out of here because I'm heading to work. The Iron Minotaur, good to see you, my friend. Appreciate the $10 earlier on. Hopefully you are still here. I don't understand why wrestlers have this God complexity or God complex or in a coconut shell for a brain. It's basics. Don't say stupid stuff. Do your damn job. That's just too much to ask. I mean, and again, you're right. You're 100% right. I agree with you. But sometimes I do have to be conscious of the fact that, like I criticized Strowman earlier for being a millionaire that's just sitting on his high horse, criticizing and telling everybody else how they should live their lives. We should kind of do that too. It's easy for us to say, don't stay stupid shit. But maybe when you're in that environment, you're just around things that just trigger this. I don't know. But yeah, it feels like if I had a great job, a $1 million contract, I'm on TV a lot, I'm fucking famous, I'm a WWE wrestler, I have the job of my dreams. The last thing that I would allow to jeopardize that is me being a fucking moron on social media. We're saying something idiotic. I would be so embarrassed. I would be so embarrassed if I got punished or if I got suspended or worse because of something I said online, something that could have been avoided, something that my brain just could not stop myself from doing. Typing out stupid shit with your dirty ketchup-covered crusty-ass finger and then sending it out into the world and looking like an idiot. And it seems like it would be really easy. If all you have to do to be, to have this dream job, to make this money and to have this life that you have, if the only thing you have to do in order to keep that is not be an idiot, I'm pretty sure I would not be an idiot. But some people just don't have that in them. And I think you're right, Minotaur. That's just too much to ask. Mark Galan, I want to say thank you for that $10 and appreciate that. Sorry, I was reading two comments at once there, but thanks again for that, Mark. Saraya should have questioned how Britt Baker really got her push in AEW when she noticed that she was wearing Cody Rhodes' nightmare colors. That would have been funny. I like that promo between the two on Wednesday. We watched it together. I feel like when Saraya made the announcement of her being officially cleared by the doctors, I don't feel like that landed the way she was hoping it would land. Her delivery, the fans cheered, but I feel like she was trying to get overly emotional and it just didn't have the build and the delivery I think that she wanted. But I also think that both men rebounded pretty well. I didn't like Britt's delivery of the make an appointment, bitch. That was kind of bad. But I felt like everything else the two women did was good. Those two moments didn't hit the way I wanted them to, but overall, the promo was good. The fans reacted to it. They both said some stuff that I thought was fun. I think it was Saraya's best promo in the company so far since she's been there. And for the first time in this entire situation, I'm actually now a little bit interested in what these women are going to do. I want to see the match. And they were able to achieve that in the promo on Wednesday, because prior to that, the sit down that Britt didn't show up for the week before and a couple of other things they did were just so-so. But this kind of made me say, okay, I'm ready to see this one now. So Britt and Saraya hopefully will be good, but you know what the result is going to be here. Britt's going to have to put Saraya over in her first match. So like I said, that can make the dynamic with Jamie Hayter, if she were to win the championship, really interesting when you got one winner and one loser in that faction, and the loser is not going to be too happy. And she could do the old Triple H Randy Orton thing to Jamie Hayter. If she has Rebel, lift her up, maybe might take two, lift her up on her shoulders and just does the thumbs down thing. That would be great. What's up, WWE for life fan forever in the universe, even in China? How you doing? Good to see you. Everybody else that's been chiming in since I've been talking here, welcome back. Monique, King Aza, Ratnick, Kevin TJ. Most of you I have gotten, but some of the new ones in here. for this random Ramblin' Friday. But that is pretty much going to do it. Like I said, we were up here today just to talk about some wrestling news, shoot the shit a little bit, try to catch up on some of the news tidbits that I missed all week long, because we're not going to be up here for a podcast tomorrow, and hopefully we achieved that today. I was not well prepared. I kind of scrambled to get this whole thing together this afternoon, so I apologize if I was a little, choppy or all over the place here, but I feel like it flowed relatively well. And I think that's going to be a wrap for this afternoon, since not many people are expecting to see me on Friday afternoons. So SmackDown goes live in about 30 minutes. I will keep my eyes looking at Twitter while I'm at work, trying to get an idea of how the show is going. And I am pretty interested in that Usos and New Day match because of the championship record implications that are going down there. So you guys enjoy SmackDown tonight. Shoot me a follow over on Twitter. And if anything interesting happens on SmackDown, make sure you let me know, because I might not be available to be staring at my phone all night long. And I want to know what happens tonight. So you guys have a great rest of your night. Have a great Saturday. Tomorrow, again, no Wing Dugo podcast, but we will be up here on Sunday to watch Survivor Series 1995. Again, the link is in the description already, and it's already up on my channel, so we will be doing that on Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Kick back and enjoy your weekend, and I will catch you guys Sunday night for Survivor Series.